Very much, Mr. Chair, and to you and the ranking member, thank you for holding this important hearing, and thank you to the secretaries for being here today. I'll start, Secretary Chow, with thanking you for the recent news that New Hampshire and Vermont will receive a $10 million Tiger grant for the Interstate 89 Lebanon-Hartford Bridge project. And that's going to help connect two regionally significant places, two interstate bridges that cross the Connecticut River. And I'll note, you've heard thanks from other senators up here. We are very grateful for the Tiger Bridge grants. It is very concerning that they don't appear in the president's budget, and we hope very much that the administration will understand how important this funding and these projects are to our states. To Secretary Ross, I will just add to the chorus, a bunch of senators sat in a subcommittee hearing yesterday saying that they personally know that the mapping information about connectivity in our states is inaccurate. It appears that the FCC has just accepted two of our largest cellular carriers' advertisements about where there is coverage. And we can tell you that there is not coverage in many places in our states that the FCC says there is. So I hope you will bring your personal attention to that in the role that your agency plays. And lastly, as a former governor sitting up here, I will just say to the whole panel that states have been doing their parts in raising revenues for transportation infrastructure. A Republican legislature in my state raised the gas tax just a little while ago. Generally speaking, the federal government helps and makes direct investments in things that have a national benefit for everybody, like national security and national economic growth. So count me into Senator Peters' comments about our concerns that this plan, while it sounds good in identifying the problem, isn't backed up with the kind of federal investment that would make it a reality, especially for small states like mine. That all being said, I wanted to start my questions to you, Secretary Chow, with actually an issue about our airline infrastructure. I wrote to you last month, along with several of my colleagues, outlining our concerns about requests you have received from the airline industry to roll back critical consumer protections. If the airline industry were to achieve its stated goals, some of the things we could see as consumers include an elimination of the 24-hour grace period a consumer currently receives when purchasing an air ticket, an elimination of rules requiring airlines to disclose information about how consumers can file complaints with the Department of Transportation, a potential weakening of requirements that airlines provide prompt wheelchair service for passengers who experience disabilities, an elimination of rules requiring airlines to display the full price of a ticket to consumers when they shop. That's just a few of the things that they're trying to roll back. So I look forward to your full response to the letter, Secretary Chow, but in the meantime, can you commit to working with Congress before any consumer protections are rolled back in the airline industry?
Yes, but let me just say that I'm not here to defend the airline industry, but this whole string of things that you've mentioned, some of it involves website notice, and we think that a lot of it is on the website already, but clearly some of these others, I disagree. I agree with you and disagree with others, so I look forward to you asked me to take a look, I will do so.
I would appreciate that very much. And Secretary Acosta, I just wanted to mention there are about 3 bipartisan bills among HELP committee members right now that deal with workforce training. So Gateway to Careers is one of them. The Jobs Act is another. The CTE Excellence and Equity Act is another. So I'd love your commitment to looking at those bills so we could see if there's a way forward on workforce training.
Certainly, Senator, and we spoke briefly before, and I already jotted a note to myself to do that.
Terrific. Thank you. Secretary Perdue, the U.S. Department of Agriculture plays a large role in improving rural America's infrastructure. Across the United States, the need for investments in our water infrastructure can't be overstated. The American Society of Civil Engineers has said of New Hampshire that much of the current water infrastructure has exceeded its design life or is operating at its capacity and will need upgrades or replacement. The repair and replacement costs are quickly rising to millions of dollars, and we can no longer afford to defer investment in our nation's critical infrastructure systems. So how is your department aiding small towns like the ones I represent in New Hampshire to repair their aging water infrastructure?
As a former governor and now senator, I think you understand the impact that rural development can have in these communities, working with smaller communities, particularly over water treatment, water availability, and water plans. And we look forward to continuing to do that as we go forward. Obviously, funding is critical in those areas, and we want to be even more effective in that area.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Chair, I'm sorry I've gone over. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Hassan. Next up is Senator Udall.